There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to this edition of Drive Time and the new and I believe improved intro. Thanks to KG who put that together for us because now it's more than just my ugly mug that's in there. Scooter's mug and Showtime Sarah's mug is in there as well. So now for those that may have watched the Sunday morning show, Sunday Rise, where Sarah and I were on, and Sarah, we're getting her all ready for all the hates that are come out today. Sarah then completely forgot that she had to work today. So Midnight Rider had set the over under for 15.5 hates, but I have heard that Vegas did officially take that off the board since she's not going to be on the show. It would not be fair for everyone, of course, on their betting to bet on something when she's not even here. So, but I am joined here, of course, by Scooter. And again, I do want to give KG a shout out for the new intro video. So it's a little new intro there for us. So Scooter, how you doing today? I know you had a couple weeks off and stuff like that, doing some Memorial Day events. So how's everything going for you, sir?
Great. I want to say thanks, KJ. KG, the thing's awesome, and then my favorite part is Showtime doing her hair. So and then getting excited about something. So that was the best part of it. But yeah, it's been busy, but glad to be back. Yeah, couldn't. Memorial Day was wonderful, but I had to work double on the next day, so I had to miss out. But
Now, I do want to ask because for anyone that follows Scooter on Facebook knows that he got the chance to drive one of the big rigs, the big military rigs. So first and foremost, Scooter, how was the experience driving it? And were you nervous at all about running into a building or anything like that with the thing?
So the thing's a deuce and a half. It weighs over 13,000 pounds, I think it is. And it's all designed. Every Mission Barbecue has one. It actually has a smoker on the back too. You can't drive around with it smoking. But we got a three car. It was a 3 SUV Delaware State Police envoy coming with us. They took us everywhere we had to go. So then we did the parade. The thing is not fast, and I wasn't afraid. It has no power steering, but it kind of brakes tough. So I got to work out. But it was fun, and looking forward to doing that kind of thing again.
I'm sure you are. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and glad you survived it, and are still here today to talk to us. So of course, you are. Let's get through the fun stuff here. You can like, follow, and subscribe to us, of course, on YouTube, Facebook, or X, and then you can listen to us the next day on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, Podbean, and Castbox. So we are here for your enjoyment, whichever way you want to watch us. Hopefully, watch us live. If so, put in some comments. But if you check us out later, that's cool too. And hey, if you want to, listen to us while you're driving, then that's available for you too. We're all types of service. So Showtime Sarah already checking and saying she can make it work. But literally, Sarah, you are at work, so don't get fired, please, because if you get fired, Paul will be very, very upset with you. So just throwing that out there right now. So Boss Man checking in. Evening, gents. Good evening. And then Midnight Rider, good evening. Poor guys have nothing to talk about. Yeah, that's right. We have nothing to talk about at all on this show. So with that being said, let's get it started because we're going to have some guests join us with the late breaking news that happened today in the NFL. And of course, we do have a Stanley Cup final to break down too. But we do, of course, unfortunately have to start with a couple of rest in peace. We're going to start with the one from today, which was Raymond Berry, played for the Baltimore Colts in the 60s, probably Johnny Unitas's favorite target in those days. 1 year, he put up numbers in the 60s that you just didn't see that would be more like fantasy football numbers that you'd see from the 2000s, where he had 74 receptions, 1,298 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Was also the head coach for New England for a bit, was their head coach when they lost to Chicago in the 85 Super Bowl. He was 93 years old. So, quick rest in peace for Raymond Berry. A little bit even before my time as far as playing career goes, but definitely see the videos of him and stuff like that. Scooter, I know he's a little bit more loved probably even up in that area. So any thoughts on Raymond Berry?
Yeah, I mean, I knew of Raymond Berry for a year, even when I was a little kid, because of the Johnny U for Johnny Unitas. He played, with the Colts and everything like that. They played in the 1958 NFL championship game, which is considered the greatest game ever played. It was at Yankee Stadium. It was against the Giants. It was the first championship game ever won in overtime. And Johnny Unitas passed for like 300 yards and 1 touchdown. That 1 touchdown went to Raymond Berry, who, by the way, had 12 receptions for like 190 yards in that game. Obviously, Johnny, you got the MVP of it. But, I mean, Raymond Berry was just – he was above he was well before our time with the kind of receptions. He was getting 17 yards a catch years, 18 yards a catch years. he won the 2 straight championships with the Colts. They were their first 2. And then he wound up in his later days, not later days, I should say, but after he retired, after getting into the Hall of Fame, of course, he became the head coach of the New England Patriots. He was there for like 6 years. He actually has like a .550 winning percentage. He won an AFC East title once, and that was over Don Shula and Dan Marino. So he beat those guys. He also led the Patriots to their first Super Bowl appearance, which, it was the slaughterhouse. They played the Chicago Bears of 1985 Chicago Bears. So they got absolutely crushed. But Raymond Berry was also a good coach. I was surprised he never coached again. But rest in peace. He was really a great guy. They love him out in Baltimore.
Yeah, they do for sure. So it's a tough one for sure. But hey, at least 93. That's a respectful age to go. Unfortunately, the next one was one that I think caught the sports world a little bit more by surprise. Claude Lemieux passed away at the age of 60. It was announced that it was a suicide. He had just done, I think it was 2 days before, Montreal does the thing before their home games where they bring back an ex-player to do the torch ceremony where they come down and then it lights the whole entire arena and everything like that. It's a very cool thing that they do. He had done it, looked good, but then the news came through that he passed away. First was announced why, then later found out that it was from suicide. He is also the agent for the goaltender Freddie Anderson, who is in this Stanley Cup final. Played 21 seasons for Montreal and New Jersey, then in Colorado, then a couple seasons with Phoenix and Dallas. At the end of his career, he's one of only 11 players to win three cups with 3 different teams. Was a very brash player. He's probably best known for the hit that he delivered on Chris Draper against the Detroit Red Wings, which set off an amazing rivalry for a few years between Detroit and Colorado. Where he then infamously turtled when he was going to get hit. So he had his share of controversy. He wasn't necessarily my favorite player, but I think Claude Lemieux, again, is another one of those players where kind of falls into the old, like the Wilson, you hate him unless he's on your team. If he's on your team, you love him because he's that type. He's a gritty player. He's not afraid to get involved, but he also can score, just like one Tom Wilson can for the Caps. So for those maybe wondering, like, what was he like as a player? Like for today's player, that's probably the best comparison I could have. But unfortunately, he took his life, unfortunately, at the age of 60. So, Scooter, any thoughts on Claude Lemieux as a player?
Well, I used to watch him all the time because his Montreal Canadiens were in the Adams division with the Whalers, and they actually faced each other a lot in the playoffs. The Whalers always lost. But specifically in 1986, it was Game 7 of the Adams division finals, which would be the second round of the NHL playoffs today. But they battled into Game 7, and they went to overtime against in the Forum in Montreal, and it was actually Claude Lemieux scored at 5:55 in overtime, and he got Mike Liut on his weak side. So Mike Liut actually became a NHL agent as well, interestingly enough. But he beat the Whale. We always think of in Hartford, it was 5:55 Claude Lemieux. So it was always dreadful. We hated it. And Claude Lemieux always killed the Whalers. That game also was Patrick Waugh's first Game 7 he ever played in. And he has all these records of Game 7s and wins in the playoffs. But Claude Lemieux he was one of those players. He was the first player to win 3 Stanley Cups with 3 different teams, and he won a 4th with the Devils. He won 2 with the Devils. And it's just so surprising he never made the Hall of Fame. He was that type of player. He was a Hall of Fame player. He played for a long time, and he was always good. And, maybe his numbers didn't match up there, but he could score. He can hit you. Yeah, Tom Wilson would be a good look at that, I would say. But, so God, I don't know. You never know what anyone's thinking there. And it was really kind of weird, too, because where he ended his life was in Lake Park, which is in Florida, which is actually North Palm Beach or near West Palm Beach Gardens. And it's right near where my grandparents lived. And I know the building that they were. And my mother actually, she had a business once right down the street from Lemieux's furniture place. So, yeah, heart to the family.
Yeah, I mean, last week I gave out a little public service announcement on sepsis, and this week it's suicide, which is just crazy. But just, there's a lot of whatever reason still in this country of people afraid to get help when they need help, and I just ask that people reach out for help if you need it. Too many people in this country die by suicide, and I think a lot of it's because they don't either know what to say, and maybe a lot of people don't know what to say back to someone other than, oh, well, you'll be okay, and that's not necessarily what people need to hear. So let's just keep that in mind. Like, we never know what anyone's going through. And again, it's another example of that money doesn't necessarily mean that you're happy. We see too many people in show business. Robin Williams always comes to mind of someone else, who's just a brilliant actor who just unfortunately, wasn't happy and commit suicide. And Claude Lemieux, who many people would probably look at and say, oh, he has everything he should need. What would make him unhappy? But you just don't know what's going on in people's lives and what's going on in people's minds. So my little thing for everyone today is just, if you need help, please, please, please go get it. There's got to be ways to do this without, unfortunately, thinking that taking your life is the best option. And I'll leave it
Yeah, I
at
went to a funeral last year of a police officer who killed himself while on duty, and it was a huge Catholic funeral, and it was probably it was so unbelievably emotional. Just like, and there's one, it's like it was way too early, and listening to his family talk about, like, we just, like, we didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things. Some people just keep it in. You don't see it.
All right, so let's do this again. I always find, especially with these heartbreaking type of rest in peace, I think it's just too hard to try to do the perfect segue. So we'll take a quick commercial break a little early, and then we'll be right back and get into some of the stuff that happened this weekend, and then some NFL stuff as well. All right, give me 1 second here. So I'm going to do this here real quick. A quick Jose, can you sing update? And with that, we didn't have that many because both series ended kind of early, and for whatever reason, the NBC does not show them that much on for the NBA yet. So I'm hoping when we get to the finals of the NBA, we'll get there. But Carnell Johnson had another 50. That's back-to-back 50s. He's the first ever artist to go back-to-back 50s, and that's his third ever. And Adam Lee Decker did the Carolina Game 5. Wasn't his strongest. He only got a 41. Sounded a little nervous in the Canadian one, and then actually got back to where he's a little pitchy on this last one. So that's where we're at on the anthem. So not too much going on there, but we'll get some more anthems obviously this week. So not a lot of Say Can You Sing updates like we've had before, but Carnell, the Golden Pipes Johnson, and these are our two anthem singers for the finals. I will admit, if this was based off of the anthem singers, Vegas would be sweeping because I like Adam Lee Decker fine, but nothing beats Carnell Johnson and his anthems in Vegas. Those are just the best for sure. So any thoughts on any of the anthems there, Scooter?
I don't. Interestingly enough, though, I did have on the Naked Gun when I came home today, and it was the Enrico Palazzo scene with Bombs in the Air. So it kind of makes me chuckle a little bit. So
I love that.
I would have given that one 100.
Yes, yeah, you have to give Lindsey Nelson 100 for any anthem that he does. Bunch of bombs in the air.
Yeah,
yes, that's always good stuff. All right, let's get to some quick weekend things. We do have our guests here, so let's just hit this real quick. Our NBA finals are set. The New York Knicks will be taking on the San Antonio Spurs. I think this is kind of going to be a great series in the sense that it's good for basketball because I think they got a couple of really good young stars and Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, and Victor Wembanyama that will be playing in this finals. So this is good for the NBA. These games are all going to be on ESPN. Game 1 starts at 8:30, and I believe, or excuse me, on NBC. I'm sorry, 8:30, and first one is Wednesday night in San Antonio. Game 2 Friday, and then Game 3 will be Monday in New York. Who do you got for the finals?
Oh, I got the Spurs with Wemby. I got that, probably 6 games, not 7, but 6 games. I think it'll be a good series.
I do want to give KG a shout out because I really thought OKC was going to be the team, and he kind of sold me over to the Spurs side, but I know he's also a huge Knicks fan. So and there's a couple other guys like if you remember good old Thomas McAfee from our fantasy football league, he's a huge Knicks fan. So I'm rooting for the Knicks just because I know there's enough guys around that like the Knicks. So I'll go for the Knicks, but I really don't have a rooting interest in it. Let's see here real quick. What else do we got going on here? We have the French Open is tennis in the round of 16s, there have been a lot of upsets. On the men's side, the number 2 seed Zverev is left, and then a guy from Canada, Algar Aliar, which is the 4 seed. That's it. Those are the top 2 seeds left. There is one American left, Francis Tiafoe. He is in the third set of his round of 16. He split 1-1, so we'll see how that goes from there. I do not know how that's going to play out. And then you also have on the women's side, there are no women's left. Monica Keys lost yesterday. The number 1 seed, Sablenka, won today. She's the high seed left. Then you got the number 7 seed, Svitolina, and then the number 15 seed, Skotsut, I believe is her name. But the cool thing about that matchup is it's going to be 2 ladies from the Ukraine battling each other in the quarterfinals. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm happy for Ukraine. They got somebody's going to make it to the quarterfinals in the French Open. Have you been able to see any of the tennis, Scooter, with how busy you've been?
Yeah, I've been busy. I mean, I saw that Coco Gauff got knocked out there, so that was kind of surprising to me. And so Tiafoe, God bless him. He's a DC guy. He's from Maryland, so keep it going.
I do like that. Showtime throwing in her thoughts. Sources say New York is cooked. Win or lose, can anyone confirm?
We're not talking about the Yankees, okay?
I know see, I was going to set her off for all kinds of fun stuff. So, all right, so there we have it. So now let me do this here real quick here. Hopefully here this works here. Let's try out. I want this one, and then we're going to bring in our guests here slowly but surely here. Hopefully this works out here. All right, so let's make sure here. First, we got everyone. I know Axel is having some sound problems, so hopefully you can hear us now. Okay, Brian, are you there? And Axel, are you
what's
there?
up, man? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Hey,
Axel, how about you?
Hello. I can't hear anything.
I can hear you though, Axel.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, Axel, we can hear you fine. I don't know why you can't hear us. So let's see here. Here, let me do this here. I'm going to mute him for a second, and then I'll bring him back in here. All right, so let's do this. So Brian, for those that don't know, is the son of Flying Brian from Unapologetic Sports.
Sure.
He is a Rams fan, and so the funny thing is, once I heard that he's a Rams fan, it's like, okay, well, great. Well, he's going to be our Rams guy when we get to the draft. But then turns out now you might not have a pick next year, thanks to these happenings here today. So
Hello.
I can hear you, Alex.
I can't hear anything from you guys.
We can hear you though fine. So hold on, let me see here.
Okay. I don't know if I if I can talk about the Browns trade. If I have time to talk for it, I'll do a quick one because I can't hear what you guys are saying. My first reaction was betrayal, but after you really think about it, this didn't happen in a bubble. The Browns were in trouble with their cap issues with Watson. It's a big deal. They can't keep Watson. They can't keep Garrett at the same time. You have to realize where this team is at. It's not good. Their record is what it is. And keeping Garrett on the team when he's in his prime, this is the time for him to be traded. I know probably not a lot of Browns fans are going to agree with that because they're emotional. But I think at the same time, you have to be aware of where this team is at. And they're in a rebuilding mode. And I think today they realized they were in a rebuilding mode and they made the necessary trade. Could they have gotten more? Maybe. Who won this trade? Well, right now the Rams have won this trade because the person that is the best player in the trade, that's the team that wins. So we have to hope that they make good draft picks. They have the draft picks to do it. Now they're going to have a lot more flexibility in their cap space. So I do support this trade. It's a hard trade, but if you look at it objectively, I think the Browns did what they had to do. And I know we're not going to like it as fans, but we're going to like it if they win, and no one's going to care if they win. So they got a nice little piece for a former first-round player. That's, two-time Pro Bowl player anyways. He's not going to be Garrett, but no one is. But you also have a guy on the wrong side of 30. If he gets injured, you get nothing for him. So hopefully the draft picks will come through, but I do support the trade. I think it was the right thing to do.
All right, there you have the Cleveland Browns perspective. So for those that don't know what we're talking about, because I just let him go so that way he can say it, and then I told him I'm going to boot him out, and then we'll see if he can come back in and come in here. So anyway, Myles Garrett is traded to the Rams from Cleveland for Jared Verse and a 2027 first rounder, 2028 second rounder, and a 2029 third round pick. So they are getting some haul out of this. So Brian, so from the Rams side of it, what are your thoughts on this trade?
Well, from the Rams side of it, I'm starting to think that they're turning into Dallas. They like the headlines recently, which is fine. But this one, I mean, once again, no talk, no really behind the scenes like the AJ Brown, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But I mean, when I heard about it at first, when I was okay, we traded for Myles Garrett. Of course, I was extremely excited. You get that Defensive Player of the Year. And then I heard they traded Jared Verse, and then, I kind of, it's one of those emotional things because of how well Jared Verse was for us. But if they're I look at it as they have no holes. And they fixed the secondary, and even the backup quarterback situation, which was Jimmy G and Stetson Bennett, that there's some kind of hope there if something happens to Stafford. And now what they're doing is they're doing the all-in, over-the-top, similar to the 2021 kind of feel.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a Rams fan like me, it's almost too good to be true, right? You gotta kind of wait and feel it out. But right now, I think his take is absolutely spot on. It's good for both teams, and it's a win for us. We get Myles Garrett. There's nothing else that you can say besides that. And if the Browns can figure it out with Todd Monken, which I think that's I think if he can work that out in the future, and they cannot be the Browns for the next 4 years and do something with that capital, it'll work out for both teams.
Yeah, I agree with both you guys. I think it will work out for both teams. So let's do this now. So, Axel, you can hear us. You can hear us now, right?
I'm back. I can actually hear now.
Great.
I like that.
Yay!
Yeah.
Good things. Good things.
It was
for
like
sure.
so mysterious. I'm like, what can I say?
No, you rolled. It was a great take.
You did great. We made it work for sure. So, Axel, let's do this. So, tell Brian what he's getting in Myles Garrett. I'm sure maybe he's seen some film and stuff like that, but being a Browns fan and watching him day in and day out over these last few years, what type of player is he getting?
I mean, it's exactly what he said. This is the all-in move that they really need. That just he can be super clutch when it comes to sacking the quarterback and putting the pressure on the quarterback. That's exactly what you need in the NFC. I can't see how this team, if Myles Garrett is healthy, I can't see how this team doesn't win the Super Bowl. And they did the same. It's just like you said before. They did an all-in move before when they went for it, and they did it again. They knew what they had to get, and they went and got him. So I think it's a home run for them as long as he's healthy. They have to absorb the cap that he's going to bring. I really do think that he was at his peak at this point, and we traded him just at the exact point where he was at his peak. So he will go down a little bit, but I think for what they need, he's exactly what they need to win this championship this year.
I like it. All right, so Brian, let's do this. Tell Cleveland fans out there what are they getting in Jared Verse? What's some things that maybe they're going to like to see when they see him?
What would you say? How much of a gap is there, and what kind of potential does he have? What's like his end potential in your opinion?
I think when we first drafted Jared Verse and we teamed him up with Braden Fisk, and there was that kind of matchup or that kind of duo, and so it was that kind of to replace Aaron Donald back then. They were looking for anything to replace Aaron Donald, and when those guys were stepping up, it wasn't necessary. It was Jared Verse being the highlight of the rest of the great line that we had. And he was a leader from the beginning, so you're not losing anything there in terms of leadership and in terms of play. And I'm not a guy to look at amount of sacks to make or break. Myles Garrett got 23 sacks in it last year. I mean, you're not gonna come close to that. But but he's there when it matters every time. And so you're not losing anything there. But is it a slight step down from one of maybe the greatest pass rushers in the 21st century? I mean, kind of, but you're getting a lot out of it.
Brian, I will give you one little bit of warning for Myles Garrett. His time here in Cleveland, he's been known to like his speed going up and down I-90 just a little bit. So I'm a little concerned for him on the freeways in LA with the traffic trying to pull off his 110s and 55s that he has done a couple times here in Cleveland. So are there going to be any precautions taken there in the local area to help him out on the highway? Maybe give him his own express lane so that he can still
Give him his own
the
driver, man. He shouldn't be.
Yeah,
he
give him a
shouldn't be
driver.
driving.
Yeah, McVay should take care of that quickly. I hope.
Scooter, what do you got on the trade real quick?
Well, I just think that getting Garrett over to Chris Shula, who Chris Shula doesn't really do a lot of like mega blitzing. He relies upon his front four to rush. I mean, he just got the best front four rusher he could find. And that's just like, that's going to be really big for Shula and that defense. Also, I found it funny on the Cleveland part was that I forgot when it was, but several years ago. But Cleveland once said, the Browns, they said, oh, our plan for Myles Garrett is he's going to be with Cleveland, and then he's going to go to Canton. And so Myles Garrett's like, that's not my plan. My plan is to win a Super Bowl. And so, if Myles Garrett gets 4 sacks this year and they win the Super Bowl, I think Myles Garrett's he's going to love life.
Yeah, I think I agree with that too. I mean, it kind of seemed like, I went out to at my lunch break today to go get some groceries, and he hadn't been traded yet, but you could kind of hear on 92.3 The Fan, it sounded like something was a brewing. I don't think anyone knew it was quite going to be this, but clearly something was brewing. Now Cleveland has to figure out, are they actually going to let Deshaun Watson start a football game again? Because it seems like that's where we're going. So let me ask you that real quick. What are your thoughts now at quarterback? What do the Browns do here between Shedeur and Deshaun?
Well, I mean, you still have a year on the contract for Watson, and he's dead. I think at this point you got to just play your best player. I know they're gonna hate, not playing Sanders, but if Sanders is better, he can beat out Watson. We've heard a lot of talk from him. It's put up or shut up this year because with all these additional draft picks, they're gearing up to either dump Watson probably next year and just buy him out, or do some kind of contract thing where they can, finagle his contract a few more years, or they go with Sanders the whole way, or they're going to just most likely they're going to go in a new direction. So this is they still have all these quarterbacks on the roster they got to figure out. Who's the other guy? That guy's got to go. So we've got to
Garrett, right?
What's his name?
Garrett,
Dylan
right?
Gabriel?
Oh, Gabriel.
Gabriel, yes. I'm sorry. He's got to go. He's got it. We can't have that. I'm tired of all these quarterbacks in the room. It's like their only solution is like, hey, there's this quarterback here. There's the Cincinnati quarterback that has been rumored that we're interested in too. If he's not betting on games, maybe he'll be really good here. I have no idea. We've got to figure this thing out. But
for the first pick.
What
was that?
It a $1,000,000% looks like a tank for the first pick. And Todd Monken, when I saw that clip of him making that comment about them playing 7-on-7 and throwing interceptions,
I've always believed in my heart that they want Manning. That Manning is like their number one guy that they want on their team. That's because when they have that new stadium, they want the face of the franchise to be Manning. They have to have marketable players. So I do think they're going all in on Manning.
To talk about more quarterbacks on Cleveland, I mean, I forgot what pick it was in the draft, but they picked another quarterback in the draft.
Yeah, they did. Yep. They sure did. Yeah, they just I would not take them out of this. The Cincy quarterback could be on our team for sure.
Midnight Rider.
So we'll see.
Watson has the $8 million cap hit. Cincy kid is Sorsby. Yes, Sorsby was the Cincy kid that you're talking about there. So Brian, let
Yeah.
me ask you this here for on the Rams side of this. So how are you feeling as a Rams fan now that this trade is? Do you think that is this the hurdle they need now to get over Seattle and now get themselves back to Super Bowl? Are you looking at this as Super Bowl or bust?
Well, going back to what he said in terms of the McVay's view on the pass rush in terms of being stepping up when it's time, if you will. If you go back to the 2021 season, the NFC Championship game ended with an Aaron Donald sack on Jimmy Garoppolo throwing an interception, and then the Super Bowl, the last play was the Joe Burrow on 4th down. Twice where Aaron Donald stepped up and pretty much sealed the game. And Chris Shula doesn't blitz, and he's absolutely right about that. And so when it was time to make those stops in the 2023, 2020, or 2024 and last season, it wasn't there every time the way it was, because a lot of those guys were more equal in terms of play. So if he looks at Miles as almost an exact replacement of Aaron Donald in terms of when it's 4th down in the Super Bowl and we need you to get a sack, are you going to be able to do it just like he did? I think that's maybe one of two guys in the league that you look at, Myles Garrett and maybe Max Crosby. And so that to me is where it's coming from. And so that feels great because that feels amazing.
I'd like to have that feeling as a Raider fan. I don't know what these things are like. So Anthony checking in saying hi. So let's do this. So this was the trade that obviously I don't think anyone really kind of saw coming today. There was rumors that Myles Garrett was going to get dealt, but I don't think anyone thought that it was going to be this deal. Then you have we'll do this here kind of in reverse order. Then you have the deal that everyone saw coming, but was official today. A.J. Brown goes to New England for a 1st and 28 and a 5th in 2027, ending his time in Philly, which was up and down, but he did win a Super Bowl there. I mean, he gets what he's supposed to do. Any thoughts on this? Let's start with Brian, because you're in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. So Brian, any thoughts on this as far as A.J. Brown to New England? Does it help New England? Does it hurt them? And what does Philly do?
Like you said, totally expected for the past, I mean, pretty much since the Super Bowl, if not before. With all the Vrabel nonsense, there's more worry than there would be if that wasn't around going into the season. But it's a game changer for Drake May. I mean, it is, and schedule this, all that. It's going to be a different season. And I don't think he's necessarily going to get worse. Right. But it's all about what Mike Vrabel can do, and I would be way more confident, honestly, before all of the scandal, whatever. Can he control a guy like A.J. Brown and get him to be a different teammate than what he was like on the Eagles? Because we know that was a nightmare.
Right. Yeah, it definitely puts a target on New England's back too. Like the expectations are going to be a lot higher this year. Now you add A.J. Brown. So Axel, any thoughts on the A.J. Brown trade?
I mean, again, they've become like the front runner in the AFC. I was looking to see what Denver's going to do, and they just don't seem to be really adding to their team, unfortunately, because they were right in that game and very close to Super Bowl, even with a backup. And I kind of expected them to do a little bit more. I'm a little disappointed in that. But yeah, I mean, that's another weapon for Drake May. This is going to be a tough team to beat.
Maybe that's a sign that they're not confident Bo Nix is going to be ready anytime soon to start the season, and they don't want to put in a lot of resources when they're not sure what the hell they're going to have at quarterback.
That's a great point.
So Scooter, what are your thoughts on the trade for A.J. Brown?
So with everyone, not you guys, but everyone was talking about Vrabel all this time, and they've been kind of like, oh well, the Patriots, they got to the Super Bowl, they shouldn't have been there, and they're not that great, and they're going to have this schedule that's going to be real tough, and all this stuff. But how are they not going to be great? I mean, Drake May finished second in the MVP voting. I mean, he was like 31-8 with touchdown interception rate. He was really great with Stephon Diggs. So no more Stephon Diggs. You get A.J. Brown. you're going to even be better. I mean, you should be better. So they're going to even be better with this coming out. And plus on the Philadelphia side, up here in northern Delaware near Philly, I mean, the Eagle fans had it with A.J. Brown like in week 4 last year. Like they were completely done with him because he was just being A.J. Brown. And then you got to think, though, also with Vrabel. Vrabel is the guy who drafted A.J. Brown in Tennessee. And Vrabel was the guy who got all mad when they decided to trade into Philly. So I think it's going to work out well up there in New England.
Yeah, I think it will too for them. Hopefully, it will. It just all depends on what type of AJ Brown they get. So, a couple other moves that happened today. The New York Giants signed a lot of wide receivers today. Odell Beckham Jr. comes back, Braxton Berrios, and Juju Smith-Schuster. I have no idea if any of them will actually make their team come week 1. Who knows what this is all about? But they're interesting, at least, right? I mean, these would have been great signings 4 years ago. I'm not so sure about now. Brian, any thoughts on the Giants ad?
I think they said, "What can we do to get Jackson Dart out of the news?" And they made almost jokes of moves, like name the 3 most random, halfway washed people in the league, and they signed him in a matter of 2 hours. If you're a Giants fan, you're excited about what Odell brings in for morale. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it.
He might be the only one that's a chance. Maybe Juju will probably stick around, I'd imagine too. But yeah, I think you're right. I think Odell's more a publicity move to bring him back but we'll see if he makes the team. I mean, he hasn't really played the last couple of years, so we'll see where that goes. Axel, any thoughts on the Giants moves or anything different?
No impactful wide receivers. If they're taking like the Kansas City approach where they just bring in a bunch of wide receivers, we saw what happened with that. Jackson Dart, his value is going to be on his legs as well as moving and impacting the offense, and we'll see what happens with their running backs because I think their running game is very important.
Agree. Scooter, think any one of these 3 stick come week 1?
So I think there's a little thing. I think it has to do with Malik Neighbors. And maybe to a sense, Darius Slayton as well. How are the injuries going? Specifically for Neighbors, though, like how's that injury going? You're bringing in all these guys. I mean, if you're the Giants and you want to bring in receivers, there's nothing like bringing in a bunch of guys on day 1 so no one else can get them. These are the guys you want. Get them, pick them. And if they're not around at the end of training camp, they're not around at the end of training camp. But there might be something more about Malik Neighbors and all this. Now, I thought Slayton had a good season last year, but Neighbors, with that knee and everything, and I think they re-scoped them a little bit recently. So I think there's stuff going on there that we'll see how that works out over the next month.
I agree with that. I think so too. And then Philly did add 1 wide receiver. This clearly the AJ Brown replacement. I say this sarcastically, adding Samori Toure to their lineup today. So again, another one of these receivers. Maybe he'll make the team. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyone got any really big thoughts on Samori Toure out there? Other than who? That's okay. Pretty much it. That's what I thought too. So then the other big news, it seems like Russell Wilson is going to be retiring to take a CBS job. So it seems like it's going to be the end of the career for him. Obviously, I don't think he quite had the ending the last couple of years that he wanted to have, but his numbers, in and of themselves, 10-time Pro Bowler, won a Super Bowl, 46,966 yards passing, 353 touchdowns, 31 rushing, overall 121-80 and 1 record. So I'll just simply ask this, Brian, Hall of Fame, yes or no?
I know a lot of people have it in question because of the last 3 years. But I mean, yeah, you just read the numbers. I think a lot of guys, I mean, to me, it's more of an argument about like, well, if Russell goes in, then, Eli's got to go in, or whatever argument like that you want to make. It's about who's in and who's not. But I mean, from just that point of view, I would say he's an absolute Hall of Fame.
Okay. Axel, yes or no, Hall of Fame?
Absolutely. I mean, the league has kind of made him like the face of the league at a certain point. So like he's been their golden boy. So I can't see them not voting for him. I really can't see it. He's got to be in.
All right. Scooter, yes or no for Hall of Fame?
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be first ballot, but it could be second year when he gets in. Which Eli didn't get in his first year. He didn't deserve to get in his first year. I don't know if Russell deserves to get in his first year, but he deserves a Hall of Fame at some point, especially winning one and going to two. I think whatever they two straight, something like that. But he went to two and he won one. There's something to say about that. And his numbers are just, I mean, 46,000 yards passing, 350 plus touchdowns. That's not bad.
I mean, look at the height too. He was never like a tall, one of the tallest guys out there too. Like, and that is kind of like he opened the door for a lot of other quarterbacks that came in.
Yep, I agree with that too. All good stuff. So, well, there you have it, guys. The NFL never disappoints on June 1st, and they gave us a doozy today. So, Brian, I appreciate you jumping in, kind of at the spur of the moment here. I thought this was going to be a great idea to have a Browns fan and a Rams fan on to talk about this big trade together. So, appreciate you jumping on, and
thanks for having me.
I will definitely keep you in mind whenever we got some Rams stuff and we get into the NFL stuff later. You always got I know you got a home on Unapologetic Sports, but you can also have a secondary home here on Drive Time. Okay.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks a lot for coming in, Axel. Thanks to you for joining in too last second. Yep. I always appreciate you jumping in for football stuff. It is good stuff as always. So thank you again, sir, for your time. Okay.
Take it easy. Right. Bye-bye.
You too. Take care. All right. Let's do this, guys. Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will reset. We're going to do a very quick baseball segment. I want to talk a little bit about where we're at with the ABS challenge system. And then, of course, I know what most of you are probably waiting for is our Stanley Cup Final Preview. We're going to get into that as well. So we'll be right back after this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back now. I just got to find where I lost Scooter there. Let's see here. See, that gets him back. Well, there's Scooter now, at least.
Yeah.
Nah, there we go. This is the one I want. There we go. That's the right one. I'm like, wait, what happened to Scooter? Where'd he go? It was almost a perfect. I almost did it perfect. Damn it. I'm mad at myself. Hit the wrong one, but that's okay. Now here, this is what we want. So let's get into a real quick baseball segment. I want to kind of look into this because we are 60 games into the baseball, and I thought that this was kind of interesting of where we're at. So far, for those who don't know, the ABS is where the pitcher or a hitter or the batter can challenge whether call is a ball or strike. So far to date, we've had 3,628 attempts. The overturn rate is at 53%. 1912 have been overturned. 1716, the call has stood. So I thought that was interesting. The batters are only 47%, so they are not having the success as the catchers and pitchers are, which they are at 58%. So there's those numbers, and then this is kind of where I like doing this part here. So there's some teams that are doing really, really well. Let me pull up here my numbers here. So the best teams here that we have are the Reds are at 60%, Texas is at 59.8%, Detroit 59.6%, Kansas City 59.1%, and the Cubs are at 57.9%. The five worst teams are the Pirates at 43.1%, Boston at 43.5%, Cleveland at 44.4%, and they really blew it yesterday, because if anyone didn't see the Boston-Cleveland game, they lost their two challenges, blowing them on calls that they shouldn't have. Then with the bases loaded for Boston, Tim Herron on a 3-2 pitch throws a strike. It's called a ball. The bad news is they didn't have a challenge left. That then led to a 6-run Boston inning because they blew their challenges. So it just goes to show how important these things can be, because it definitely was the wrong call, but they had no way to challenge it. Washington also at 45.1% and Washington at 47.3%. Now, what's interesting there, I gave off Washington as one of the worst teams. However, they have one of the best players at it. C.J. Abrams is an impressive 7 for 7 in his challenges. So he doesn't do it a lot, but when he does, he's right. Isaiah Paredes from Houston is also 6 for 6. Nick Kurtz is 6 for 7. Aaron Judge, Christian Walker, and Brent Rooker all are at 75% as well. There are some catchers that are doing really well too. Tyler Stevenson is at 74.4%. He's 32 for 43. Salvador Perez, the old-time vet for Kansas City, 73.8, 31 for 42. Pedro Pages from St. Louis is at 71.4%, and Augustine Ramirez and Drake Baldwin are also doing really well as well on the player side of it. Now, the real part that I like is the umpire side of this. Like, what umpires are really like this? Dylan Wilson, he's only had 551 pitches, so he must be relatively new. He's only had 3 pitches challenged so far. So that goes to show that a lot of players must respect his strike zone, because they're not even challenging him. John Trupain, 3,420 pitches, only 42 have been challenged, and only 35% of his have been overturned. Derek Thomas, 2,516 pitches. He's only had 36 challenged with a 36% overturn rate. And Mark Rippinger, 3,362 pitches and only 40 challenges at 37.5. So that's the good side of it. And then you have the umpires, where I think the system was truly designed for. Todd Techner, 3,334 pitches. He's only had 43 challenged, but of those, 69% have been overturned. Hunter Weddlestat has the most that pitches that have been challenged with 60 of his 3,074 calls. 65% of those have been overturned. Manny Gonzalez has had the second most at 58%, or 58 challenges, and 60% have been overturned. And the most overturned by percentage is Felix Neon, which is at 80%. It's only been 15 challenges on 578 pitches, but that's not a good line either there for an umpire. So, Scooter, any thoughts on it, the ABS? Do you like it? Do you not like it now that we've seen it 60 games in? Is it serving its purpose for you?
Yeah, I think it's doing fine. I mean, it goes pretty quick when it happens, and it doesn't happen immensely. I mean, if you're a team, you want to use them all during the, you're pretty much going to want to use them all. But yeah, it's good. So I don't want to, I don't want to hear the complaining after about like, oh, umpires just. I mean, you're going to get complaining. Not that people have to listen to what I have to say, but yeah, we bring this in, and it seems to be helping, and that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I don't even think it's taking a lot of time out of games either.
No, it's not. It's super quick, and I think it's kind of fun when you're at a game live, because the crowd waits to see it, and then or it's like everyone kind of reacts to it. My favorite is when you can kind of read the player's reaction to, like, if it's a batter that challenges and the call stands, you can almost kind of see him say, like, I've seen a couple guys go, "My bad," to the umpire, like, "Hey, okay, you got that one." Like, I really would love to hear have a microphone on the catchers and the umpires. And there's one situation where, like, Salvador Perez had challenged one, and then he got the call was overturned. He challenges another one in a row, the call's overturned. Then the third one, that the umpire makes the call, and the umpire kind of looks at him like, "Are you going to challenge this one?" And he didn't. That little banner back and forth going. So I kind of enjoyed that myself too. So I think I like it. I think there are some players and teams that maybe teams need to tell their players, look, you are not allowed to challenge, and just maybe leave it up to the catchers almost, because I think hitters get too emotional with it. Like, they just assume.
Yeah, they don't see it. They just think they're always right anyways.
Right. Where the catcher, I think, has the better line, and that's what caught Cleveland, unfortunately, yesterday. So, but there's that part of it. And so then, just real quick, also, I do want to say enough time for us on the hockey stuff. So just a few little bits from the weekend review. The White Sox now are only a game behind Cleveland. They just continue to be probably the surprise of Major League Baseball so far this year. They've won 7 of 10. They are only a game back now of Cleveland. The Dodgers continue to roll now. They've won 16 of their last 20. They now have a 5.5 game lead in the NL West over San Diego, where last week when we did the show, I think that was at like only a game and a half. And the Tigers just continue to flounder without Skubal. They're now 16 games under 500, and the NL Central, every single team still above 500. So those were kind of my little quick notes for the week this week in review. Scooter, do you have anything that caught your eye from baseball this week?
I mean, not specifically like the past 2 weeks. I mean, it's just unfortunate. Like teams like KC and Detroit, I mean, they kind of stink, and they weren't expected to stink. And there's definitely a lot of injuries for both of those teams, especially pitching wise. So that's really what's hurting them. But you would think they would be a little better than the basement of, in the cellar, both of those teams. So.
And this is where, if Sarah was with us, I was going to mention the fact that starting tomorrow, the New York Yankees start a 3-game series against the Cleveland Guardians, and then they play somebody. Both teams play somebody, then they come right back with another 3-game series starting on Monday. So I was really going to set up Sarah's hate counter to get going here. So this will make my first official. Sarah hates the New York Yankees. So this way, that's my first official Matt hate counter for Sarah, because we know right now that's what would have been said. I would have teed it up for a couple different times to do that. I would have also probably shown a stat about how Aaron Judge is now leading the AL in home runs. So she could have talked about how much that she hates one Aaron Judge. And so therefore, that's going to be at least 2. I'm sure she probably would have gotten more in if we would have actually done this segment properly with her here. But for right now, we'll say 2 because that's where I would have her at for sure. So there we go. So there's that updated here too. So
with those series like the Yankees with run differential, the Yankees have a 98 plus run differential. Cleveland has a 1.
yeah,
And an interesting thing is Cleveland is 500, 14 and 14 against teams above 500. The Yankees, this is strange. They're only 3 and 8. I mean, that's a minimal amount of games again at this time against teams with a above 500 record. So they're 3 and 8 against teams with 500 records. See what happens.
This week has not been good for Cleveland because they got shelled twice by Washington and then they got shelled twice by Boston this week. So that's really hurt that run differential this last week for sure because they were around plus 40, plus 50. But yeah, they've just been shellacked. I'm not sure what's going on with the pitching. So hopefully that gets figured out. So, all right. So there you have it. So there's a real quick baseball segment. Let's get to some hockey stuff here real quick. The World Championships are done. Canada did get a little bit of revenge. They beat a U.S. team. Again, these rosters are not what they were in the Olympics, but Canada won that game 4-0. But then Canada goes and loses to the semis 4-2. Switzerland defeated Norway 6-0 to set up your gold and bronze medal matches. Norway defeats Canada in overtime 3-2. So Canada leaves the World Championships without a medal as Norway takes their first bronze in quite some time. But Finland defeats the Swiss 1-0 in overtime. The game-winning goal was scored by Konsta Helnäs. He scores the golden goal with 10:42 left in the first overtime. Anton Lundell and Mikko Lehtinen got the assist. This is the Finns' 3rd gold medal in the last 7 years. And this is a crazy stat. In the World Championships, the Swiss is now 0-5 in gold medal games. They've gone 249 minutes and 31 seconds without scoring a goal in the gold medal games. That's an insane stat. Like I saw that today. I was like, that you got to be kidding me. Like, but that there it is. So the Finns win the gold in the World Championships. Do you like it, Scooter?
I do, but I think the biggest news that came out of this week is the IIHF has ended their suspension of the Russian team, and they're allowing now. Yeah, it doesn't mean that they're going to be in the Russians are going to play in the Olympics, but it allows the Olympics to be like, okay, we'll see if you're going to play. So maybe next year the Russians, most likely next year the Russians are in the World Championships.
Should be, yeah. Them and Belarus, I imagine should both be back in it for sure.
You're going to see something. Woo! They're going to have a that should be interesting.
Yeah, agreed.
Because Russia really wants to play hockey.
I can't remember where it is next year either. I can't remember. I might have to look that up because it'd be interesting to see where it is, to see if that might cause any fun or not. On the East Coast Hockey League side, one part is set for the Kelly Cup. The Florida Everblades have advanced. They took out the Wheeling Nailers 4-1. Florida is the team in the East Coast Hockey League. This is going to make it their 4th of the last 5 years they advanced to the Kelly Cup Finals. Their 8th time overall. They've won 3 straight back in 22 from 24. They've also won the most Kelly Cups with 4. KC is close. They are up 3-2 on Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne salvaged off elimination in Game 5, 4-1 to stay alive. Game 6 is tomorrow night. Game 7, if necessary, will be the very next night and Wednesday. And both of those games are in KC. I think KC will come out of this, and that will set up a very fun final between KC and Florida. And for those that don't know, KC is the Seattle Kraken affiliate. The Florida Everblades are with the St. Louis Blues. And then on the American Hockey League side, there hasn't been much. Both of these series have started, but they've been kind of slow starting. I don't know why the AHL is taking so long to get these series going and up, but it is what it is. So Chicago and Colorado are tied at 1. They split the first 2 games, with Chicago winning Game 1 3-2. Colorado won Game 2 5-2. Toronto is up 2-0 on the Baby Penguins, which play in good old Wilkes-Barre Scranton. That one, Game 3 is tonight, Game 4 Wednesday, Game 5 Friday, Game 6 Sunday. So they have the dreaded 3 and 4 nights in the championship round, which is also crazy. Chicago has Game 3 tomorrow and Tuesday, and Game 4 Wednesday, and also Game 5 Friday. So this will pick up some steam next week. By the time we get to next week's show, we should know who is in the Calder Cup Finals. Any thoughts on the East Coast League or the American Hockey League?
Yeah, so the interesting thing about Wilkes-Barre Scranton versus Toronto is that Wilkes-Barre Scranton had something like, I want to say like 24 more points in the regular season than Toronto did. And just like we saw with Springfield versus Providence, that kind of thing, not as big as a point differential, but Toronto is up 2-0 right now. And I do remember a few years ago, real quick. The Hershey Bears were down 3-0. I forgot who they were playing, but they were down 3-0, and I was working with my wine distributor at Wegmans in Tyson's Corner, Virginia, and Joe Beninati, the voice of the Washington Capitals, he would go there. He's a big wine guy. He would go there quite a bit, and we talk hockey. And I go three, like, what's up? What's gonna? He goes, oh, they should just lose the fourth. They're never gonna win the series. And the funny thing was that Hershey came back and won that series, down 3-0. And so the next time I saw Joe, I go, hey, what about those Bears? He goes, well, you got me. He was pretty funny. But, you just never know.
That's true. You just never know what can happen. So, all right. So there you have that. So let's do this. We're going to take one last break, and then when we come back, we will get into the Stanley Cup Final, which features the Vegas Golden Knights and the Carolina Hurricanes. So we will be right back after this. All right, so we are back, and there's a quick look at where we're at as far as the brackets go. We are down to 2 teams in the Stanley Cup Finals. We have the Carolina Hurricanes against the Vegas Golden Knights. So let's do it this way. First, let's start with how they both got here. Vegas finished off the sweep of Colorado. This was 3-0 from our last show. They finished off this. This was definitely the surprise of the NHL playoffs. Not necessarily that Vegas beat Colorado, but that they swept them. Colorado was the President's Trophy, so the President's Trophy curse is still alive and well. And then on the east side, after losing that first game, after a bit of rust and a couple overtime games, which were really close, Carolina just absolutely dominated Montreal in games 4 and games 5, just completely suffocating Montreal and winning them pretty easily, 4-0 and 6-1 were the finals there to set up the Stanley Cup Finals between Vegas and Carolina. So Scooter, before we get into breaking down the series, any thoughts from the conference finals point of either Vegas or Carolina on the route to getting here?
Well, I think the Colorado side with McCarr getting like he was injured a few of those games, so there was something going on there. But the goaltending by Hart, he was really good out there. And if you go on, and their special teams are outstanding. The Vegas special teams, outstanding. Now you get to the Carolina thing. I totally saw Carolina just not doing well in game 1, and I think a lot of people saw that if they're going to lose, they're going to lose that one, and probably by a good amount. So they did, but then they went on to what was expected, and they rolled them. I mean, the overtime. There were the overtime games, but then it was over.
I think the game 3 was the backbreaker for Montreal, because in that one they had what appeared to be the go-ahead goal with about 5 minutes left in the third period. Turns out the play was offsides. Carolina gets the game winner in overtime, and then Montreal really never looked the same after that. After that decision was made, they just never really looked the same from that point forward, for sure, in games 4 and 5. And Carolina finally started to get some goals beyond Jacob Dobish, which always helps too. So there you have it. So that is what happened. So let's look at this real quick. Here's the schedule coming up. Game 1 will be tomorrow. All these games are going to be on ABC. All of them will start at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So you got game 1 tomorrow. Game 2 will be Thursday. Game 3 is Saturday in Vegas. And that will be where we will be back on air. So we'll be through the first 3 games. Then game 4 will be Tuesday night on the 9th of June. And then you got Thursday back in Carolina. Then game 6 goes back out to Vegas if necessary on Sunday, June 14th. And the latest this thing will end will be on Wednesday, June 17th. So there we have the schedule. So now what we want to do.
Just in time for free agency period.
Just in time for free agency and the draft, and we'll get into some of that stuff that we're going to have on the show. Like when I was on yesterday on the Sunday Rise with KG and Midnight Rider, I brought up how condensed the hockey thing is from the end of the Stanley Cup until you get here,
draft,
and then you got the draft, and then you got free agency. Like everything, just where the NFL does such a great job of kind of dragging things out. The NHL does not do it that way. It's just all at once, bam, and then I think everyone goes on vacation. So, but yeah, it is fun for sure. So, that's the fun of the next couple of weeks after we get through there. We'll do a mock draft show for the first round and everything else too coming up. So, this is what we did. So I pulled the guys and gal with Showtime Sarah. So I asked everyone to do this. I asked them to give where they think each team has the advantage between forwards, defense, goalies, special teams, coachings, intangibles, and then ultimately who they think is going to be the Stanley Cup winner. And as you can see, it is a very divided panel as far as the Stanley Cup winner goes. You will see, though, that there is a couple things where we all kind of are in agreement on. One, Carolina has the advantage on defense, and Scooter and I will get a chance to we'll go through all these, but that's just obviously the clear part. The forwards, most people seem to think Vegas has the advantage there. Special teams, everyone feels that Vegas has the advantage there, or at worst case, it's even. And then the other ones are kind of everyone's kind of in between as far as between the goalies, the coaching, the intangibles, and that ultimately I think is why you got of the 7 of us, 4 picked Carolina, 3 picked Vegas. I know KG, he gave me a pick, but it's too late to change the graphic. But he's picking Carolina because that was his pick in our little pick'em league, and if Carolina wins, then that's good for him. So he's going to, of course, stick with that for sure. So that's where we are at with this. So Scooter, let's start with the forwards. You had this as advantage for Vegas, you had this as advantage for Vegas. I had it as even. So let's hear first why you thought this is an advantage for Vegas.
Well, while we say advantage, I just think that Vegas has the better forwards out there, offensively skilled. They can get it done. Like Marner's having one heck of a run here. Not to say Hall isn't on the other side, but I think there's more offensive skill players that are forwards on Vegas than on Carolina.
I agree with you as far as especially like the top line goes. And that's where this is why I end up coming out down even, because if you go the top line, maybe in the second line when you got Eichel and you have Marner and look, they're both Marner's at 21 points. Eichel has 18 points. Pavel Doriev and Brett Bowden both had 10 goals each. So those first 2 lines for Vegas is very good. Now, of course, the Carolina's second line of Stankoven, Hall, and Blake have been lights out too. Hall's leading the team with 16 points. Stankoven has 9 goals. Keep in mind that Carolina has played a few less games, so the numbers aren't going to be quite as big, but that the results are the same. Where I went even is because where I think Vegas might have the advantage as far as talent on the top 2 lines, I think Carolina's has more depth. And Carolina showed that in the Montreal series with how well Jankowski, Carrier, and Robinson played. Like they dominated that series. I think they can do that against Vegas. And obviously, the Stahl, Martinook, and Ehlers line is one that usually can shut down a line, plus get some chances themselves as the quote unquote third line. But Carolina doesn't really do a numbering of lines. So that's why I went even, because I think where Vegas might have the top end talent, I think Carolina has more talent throughout. And I think what's going to be really interesting throughout the series is the matchups, because the home team gets to have the last change. It's going to be interesting to see who Carolina wants to go out against the Vegas big boys. And it's going to be interesting to see when it goes back out to Vegas, what Vegas does to try to get their big boys away from the Stahl line, because that's likely going to be the line that the Canes are going to want to have out there when Marner's out there. Nodding head in agreement? Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, now defense, we seem to everyone's kind of in agreement that the Canes defense is where it is, and I think we agree. I mean, Jacob Slavin has probably the best stick in the game. Keandre Miller is probably having a breakout tournament. I think he's a sneaky Conn Smythe Trophy candidate if the Canes win this. He's not getting a lot of points, but his plus minus is through the roof, and he's getting just enough points to be where he could be in consideration. And the other guys are good too. Vegas plays a more traditional style, but they do have some good ones too, with Shea Theodore, Ben Hutton, and Ramos Anderson there. But I do think that this is a clear advantage for the Canes as far as their defense, their ability to play defense, especially on the man-to-man side of it. Scooter, any disagreements on that?
Yeah, I mean, no, there's no like, especially if you look at some of the numbers, like take away the overtimes. Like if you look at how many goals, or excuse me, how many shots Carolina allows. I mean, you got to take away overtime. During the regular game, they don't allow a lot of shots. I mean, there's some periods where it's like 3. I mean, and that's good defense. That's really good defense.
Vic chime in and go Canes, of course. Yeah, and now the opposite side of that is because of how good the defense is, they don't allow a lot of shots. The shots that they do allow are high quality shots. And that's what really then puts the pressure on Freddie Anderson. And going into the regular season, that had been a problem for them. And it's hard. Look, I being a goaltender in my younger days, it's hard when your team is dominating play and you're only facing 2 or 3 shots a game. Goalies actually like more work because you're involved in the game. Your body stays loose. It's hard if you're going 5, 6, 7 minutes without even having to move out of your crease, to just try to stay focused on the game, especially then if your team isn't scoring goals. Now you really feel that pressure internally of, okay, whatever this first shot is, I got to stop it because the score's still 0-0. So I went even on this one, and because Freddie has been amazing in the playoffs, he's at a 931 save percentage, a 141 goals against. Carter Hart, look, it is what it is. His numbers are 924 save percentage. He's got a 222, and again, this is where if Showtime was in here, what we would be having here would be very, very easy. Her and I both have very similar feelings for Mr. Hart, and due to what else has happened off the ice with him and the allegations that took place. And I will say allegations only because they were acquitted of the charges. That said, doesn't mean that something wrong didn't happen in there, and whether or not that should affect his ability to play the sport of hockey is up for debate. I understand that, but I know she has made her opinions thought of it. I've made my opinions thought of it. But from the pure hockey side of it, look, he's been good. And both things can be true. We may not like the fact that he's playing in the Stanley Cup Finals, but he's been good, and that's where it is. So I think this series may come down to goaltending. I think you gave the edge to Freddie. I kind of called it even just because I thought Carter's been playing really well. What are your thoughts on the goaltending side of it?
I mean, it's quite simple. Okay, so how many playoff games has combined have the Vegas goalies played in their career?
Yep.
Okay.
0, right? As far as Stanley Cup Final.
Freddie Anderson's played in 98 playoff games.
True.
He's won 58 of those playoff games, and he's had several deep runs in the playoffs. I'm sorry. Like, to me, it's not just an advantage. I mean, that is a crushing advantage for Carolina to have that experience in net in the Stanley Cup Finals. There's no, and especially he's been their goalie for years now, and he feels the heat that they didn't get past the conference championships. He feels that as much as everyone else that's been on those teams as well, and he takes it to heart too. He feels that he is responsible for those losses, and he wants to win this one. I mean, he does this. He's a Conn Smythe Trophy winner.
You think? I think he's a favorite. I think for Carolina, I still have Logan Stankoven right now slightly ahead of Freddie just because of the amount. Just because of the amount of shots that Freddie doesn't face. Now, if Vegas gets 20, 25 shots a game and Freddie's still only giving up 1 goal a game, now we're talking. Then I think there's some Conn Smythe talk there for sure.
I think those shots are going to go up a little bit too, because Vegas is, they're offensively better than some of the teams that Carolina's played in the playoffs.
Agree. And I think I would also argue that Carolina is much better offensively than any of the teams that Vegas has played, other than Colorado, obviously. But goaltending wise, like Carolina's gone through 3 of the top goalies from this year's playoffs. Vegas has gone through Anaheim, which has been dreadful. For Colorado, as good as everyone else was, their goaltending was average at best. And then they got to go through Edmonton's goaltending, which was also not great either. So it'll be interesting how Vegas does against arguably the top goalie in these playoffs. So it's going to be fun for sure. Now on special teams, we're all in agreement here. Vegas special teams have been far better. Carolina's power play, which had come on towards the end of the season, has not been good in the playoffs. Vegas is running at a 23.9% power play clip. Carolina's power play is only at 12.5% for the playoffs. That is not good. The PK for Vegas, not great, 87.5, but not bad. Carolina's PK a little bit better at 93.1. They've only given up like 3 power play goals, and a couple of them were in the Montreal series. So, but I think we're all in agreement. But Scotter, you went even on this one. Everyone else said Vegas has the advantage. So why are you that this is even?
So I think what I've seen is that Carolina's allowed so few goals that they're on special teams on their penalty kill. I think that evens it up to Vegas's how many goals that they've scored. So to me, I think both teams' special teams are special teams. And so it's kind of like which one's going to give. Plus, look at it this way. I think I saw like Vegas, they average about 5 penalty kills or power plays again. I think it's one of the two. In Carolina's 4. So they don't take a lot of 2-minute penalties. So I mean, it's even all around, I think.
I think going into the series for Vegas, I said that the only way that I thought Vegas had a chance was going to be if their special teams won that series, and their special teams did win that series. They had a power play goal in every game. Carolina's I think Carolina needs to stay out of the box. I think they need to keep Vegas's power plays to 2 or 3, and that's going to be the whole thing too, right? Like how is this series going to get called from the 4? Because there will be I haven't seen that they have announced the ref. They probably have. I just might have missed it, but you're going to have a series of 4 referees, which will be 2 of them will do game 1, the next 2 will do game 2, and those 4 will probably rotate along with maybe a 5th guy to be the backup guy in case somebody gets hurt. But usually it's just one of the 2 referees that are there. So it's probably just going to be the 4 referees, and you'll also have 4 linesmen. So you're going to have the same set of 4 doing games 1, 3, 5, and 7, and 2, 4, and 6. How do those 4 guys call this series? Are they going to call it like they have the playoffs, which I think we see more power plays this year in the playoffs than I recall, at least in my brain, the last few years? If so, that could be bad news for Carolina. But if it's a series where each team's only going to get 2 or 3 power plays, I lean in with you, where then I think that's okay for Carolina.
Yeah, and I see the coaching, both coaching and coaching staffs. They, of course, we said about every NHL team is like, oh, they don't like when their players take bad penalties. But Torts and Brindamore, they want to kill their players when they take bad penalties.
Right.
And their players get that.
Yep.
And so they really don't want to do anything stupid.
And
I think you're going to see smart hockey.
I agree with that too. And I think that you talk about coaching, that leads us right into this next one of who has the advantage, where between the 6 of us, 2 of us gave it to Carolina, 2 of us gave it to Vegas, and 2 of us called it even. And this was a coin flip for me. I gave the slight advantage to Rod only because I just think that the way that he has coached this team, I think lends well. And look, I know Torts has won a cup before, but it's been a while. That was back in 2004 with Tampa Bay. And Torts has had his share of failures in the Stanley Cup Final. So I think both of these coaches are trying to get over that hump, so to speak. So I think you gave the advantage to Torts. So let's hear why you gave it to Torts.
Well, I mean, he's coached in like 120 playoff games, and he has won a cup. And he's been to the playoffs many of those years that he's a coach, and sometimes he's had some runs. And so that's why I give him the edge. Now, Brindamore, I think, is a very good coach. He hasn't had that cup yet. So you get that cup, then it's probably a different story for me next year if these 2 teams play again.
And look, I mean, Rod Brindamore going into the Eastern Conference Final was 1-12 until he went 4-1 against Montreal. So, it will be interesting with this being his first run in the Cup. How does he go about it? How does he change it or anything? So the intangibles is kind of a fun one. This one I just kind of threw out there just to see what people thought. We both gave the intangibles to Carolina, maybe for different reasons. I gave them the intangibles just because, look, I've been to Raleigh for a Stanley Cup Final playoff game. This area, and it's been 20 years, and there's been and I brought this up on the Sunday Rise yesterday. This area, and I look, and this is always what makes it hard for you and I, Scooter, is that I am well aware, and that's why I've never tried to rub it into your face the fact that the Carolina Hurricanes would not exist if it wasn't for the fact that they came from the Hartford Whalers, right? So I've always tried to be respectful to you of that fact of I recognize where this team came from, and so I never try to push it in your face. But after Carolina had that run in 06 and 09, there were a lot of bad years in Carolina.
Horrible, like Florida Panther years.
Yeah, I mean, and look, Carolina only was getting, we'd be lucky on a Sunday game to have, 10,000 people in the building. So there was talk of them relocating there for a while. Tom Dundon makes what I think a lot of people thought at the time was a cheap move, and I wasn't even so sure about the move to hire Rod Brindamore. But the bottom line is, since he hired Rod Brindamore as coach, this team, they've made the playoffs every year since. Everyone is coming back in, and when Raleigh as a city is bought in, because it is the only pro team in town, the city is just jumping. And like unfortunately, you've seen it in the price to get into one of these games. Like the lowest ticket price on the secondary market is unfortunately $1,000. And even the GM came out and said, look, like we price our tickets for people to get in, but we don't control what the secondary market does. And unfortunately, it is what it is because it's a ticket that people want. So I think, and not that Vegas doesn't have a good home crowd, they do. But I would not, we saw this when Vegas went to the Cup against the Caps. By the time that series was getting to the end, there were a lot of Caps fans that made their way into the Vegas building. I don't think you're going to see a lot of Vegas fans get into Carolina. I think you could see some Carolina fans get into Vegas. So that's where I gave the intangibles, is because I think the crowd at these home games, it's motivated. Carolina's come out strong in every game. Look, even the game they got whacked 6-2, they scored a goal 27 seconds into that game. So the crowd usually is good for a goal a game for this team at home, and they have home ice advantage. So that's where I went with the tangibles there. What were your thoughts on this one?
Well, this kind of goes back to the coaching portion of it, where so Rod Brind'Amour's been the coach for Carolina for like 8 seasons. And Carolina hasn't won a cup since 2006, is it? Something like that?
Right.
So, and then you have Vegas, whose head coach coached for 8 games this season, and they won the Stanley Cup like 3 years ago. So it's totally different. Like everything's totally different between these two teams. But I think those 8 years that ownership gave to Rod Brind'Amour and said, "We're with you, man. We're with you." I think that's a huge intangible, and that's one of the things that I think you like fans like you appreciate that than just we lost again, fire him.
Right.
I think it would have been an issue this year if he lost in the playoffs, but he didn't. He's still there, and I think that's an intangible in itself. Is the strength of the inner core of that team is a foundation.
Now, as Jeff Nail called out on me after they lost game 1 against Montreal the way they did, I might have put some stuff about Rod lasting as the head coach.
Well,
but
that's expected.
that was at that time when we were then 1-18. It's like, oh boy, here we go again. Like, is this really going to happen again? So Paul put a good thing in our comments, and he's got Vegas in 7. He goes, Mitch Marner needs to win the cup to fulfill the Leafs nightmare prophecy, which if they weren't facing Carolina, I could maybe chuckle at that, but like I just dislike Vegas so much, and it starts from the goal out as to why. Jeff just says that they have the Stanley Cup winning experience. He thinks that's going to play a part, which is why he took Vegas in 6. He does say, I think the hunger factor could be what swings this back to the East of who wants it more. That was from Paul too. So, which I think is an interesting take on it too. Vic and I are kind of in the same place. And Sarah, I think I think we're going with what we want to see. But I'm cautious on this one because, like I've said on every show that we've done, I've underestimated Vegas, I think, a lot throughout this playoffs. I honestly thought Utah was going to beat them. Now, I did think they would easily handle Anaheim, and they did. But I did not think that they were going to give Colorado a series. So I am not going to sit here and say that this series, that's for sure. I am expecting Vegas to be everything. That's why I have it going 7 games. I think Paul's got it going 7 games. Jeff's got it going 6. Vic's got it going 6. I think KG said Canes in 6. You're the only one that's got a short series at 5.
I just think Carolina's a lot better than Vegas.
All right.
I'm willing to do that, and I can't believe I did that. But I got to tell the truth. That's the truth that's hitting me.
I got to tell the truth. I like that. I have to tell the truth.
I have to tell the truth.
All right. Well, so there we have it. So the fun begins tomorrow night in Raleigh. The coverage is on ESPN. I really wish it was on TNT. I thought the TNT did an amazing job of both in Montreal and Raleigh. When it got to about 5 minutes before the anthems were supposed to be sung, they just shut up and watch the ceremony. Like, I showed the one that they do in Carolina, which is amazing. I love what they do in Montreal, where they bring out they bring out one of their old playoff heroes, and he holds up the lamp, and then that turns the whole entire arena the flame red, and they just shut up and let everyone watch it. I know that ESPN will not be smart enough to do that because they like themselves to have Mark Messier and PK Subban talk, which just sucks. I think Anson Carter and Biz on TNT with Hendrik Lundqvist and Gretzky is just a much better panel than Messier and PK. But it is what it is. It's on ESPN. There's nothing I can do to change it.
Yeah, I mean, see, See what ABC does. It's good. Yeah, I thought TNT was good too. I thought TNT was really good. But I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I like Gretz and the guys. And
Yeah,
Biz.
like Biz is not afraid to go and get in with the crowd. I just love it.
Yeah.
There's zero chance Mark Messier is going out into the Raleigh crowd and wearing an Evil Knievel outfit like Biz did. Like it just is not happening. So,
Well,
all
he has a
right,
little gravitas too. Like, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He's won like 4 Stanley Cup championships. So,
I
Biz
guess.
has played in like 120 total games, and he had 300 fights.
True, very true. All right, let's do this here real quick. Let's get into some. So next week's show, we're going to be on Tuesday, June 9th, because Monday, June 8th, I will be at the Guardians game, which is a 6:10 first pitch on a Monday. So we will be doing our show Tuesday, which will be good because we'll have a game to get ready for the Stanley Cup Finals, and then we will get into some more baseball. Of course, then I'm going to go to the bottom here first. Monday, June 22nd is going to be our first round NHL mock draft. We'll show there. So if you got, who your team thinks will pick, we'll be more than happy to have those. Then Wednesday, July 1st, this is going to be a special noon start time. The reason why we're going to start at noon is because that is when NHL free agency starts. So we'll recap how we did with our NHL draft, but then we'll be on for the first couple hours for free agency, and we'll see what happens. We'll see. We'll get into a little bit more as we get closer of who is free agents or not, and then we'll see how that all plays out. And then we got the 2 big shows. July 20th is going to be our combined show with Pretenders and Contenders, where we'll talk to officials and coaches all together about building rapport with each other, how we deal with the unruly parents, and then also the declining number of officials on the youth side and what everyone can do to help out. And then our series of is sports pricing out their fans. That will be on July 27th. So that is what is coming up on Drive Time. It's going to be a busy couple months going through the 250th Independence Day on July 4th this year, and getting everything finalized and done from the hockey season. There, I need a second to talk there, Scooter. So let's do this here too. Pretenders and Contenders, they are coming up here tonight. Here I do have here, he has the Laurel High School state champion, Teme Adeu, and I really hope I'm pronouncing that name right. She won the 200 and 400 meters dash. She finished second in the 100 meter. And the coach, Ron Anthony, who is the founder and president of the DMV Football Coaches Association, that will be your guest tonight on Pretenders and Contenders with Coach Devon. That's going to be tonight at 7. Tomorrow, Unapologetic Sports will be at 6:30, and then the Tuesday night flight at 8 o'clock, right at Puck Drop. Then Nothing But Net will be on Wednesday night, and then Thursday night Throwdown is Thursday, which will also be your big game twos. And Wednesday night, of course, Nothing But Net. They're going to be talking about the NBA Finals because the first game is Wednesday night at 8:30. WrestleManiacs are Saturday night at 9, and then the Sunday Rise again at 11. So there you have it. There is our show lineup for down the road, and then the exit ramp, of course, as we've talked about before. You can watch us live on YouTube, Facebook, and X, and then listen to us next day on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and all that good stuff. So there we go. We've said a lot today, Scooter. Any final thoughts here that you'd like to holler out there?
No, I would just I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the Stanley Cup Finals, and Lord knows I'm going to have to use this a lot.
Uh-oh.
This is my beer drinking boot.
Oh, the beer drinking boot.
Yeah, you can see it's the size of my head. So I'm gonna have to use that a lot because I do predict Carolina with 4 games to 1.
I hope you're right, sir. I really, really do. I hope.
But for you guys, I want that to happen.
I know it's
not
always...
for my friend Matt up in Connecticut, who's this huge Carolina Hurricane fan, who is a huge Whaler fan. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, it's one thing if you're from Carolina, you're in Carolina. It's another thing if you're from Hartford. He just drives me crazy. I want him to lose just for him.
It's funny though, because I do know, like when I lived down there and we would go to games, every now and then somebody would come in a Whalers jersey. So I'd always ask, and a couple of them, most of them were, I would think, honestly, from Hartford originally.
He comes down there with his $2 like for 4 games a year, so you may see them.
Yeah,
and they've been doing it for like 4 years.
Yeah, and I give those fans credit that we're willing to just suck it up and say, hey, we're still going to cheer on this franchise, even though they're in Carolina. I don't know if I see, it'd be hard because I think of my Raiders, who have moved like 17,000 times since I've been a Raider fan, and I tend to follow them too. But I guess I don't live in any city that they've actually
that's the
played
thing
in.
Is when you live, you're down. Your neighbor is the goalie. There's that thing. Yeah. It's like it's in your heart.
Yep. Yeah. So that might change things for sure. I think you're
Yeah.
probably right on that. But it's
It's
hard.
new
So
ownership and, whatever. They got rid of Carmanos, thank God.
I know.
No more Compy Whale.
That's the one thing that we can all agree on is that Carmanos no longer owns an NHL hockey team. That's good for the NHL. Oh yeah, we didn't get into on the baseball side. I was going to bring up that the Players Association and the MLB both exchanged their first contracts,
Oh,
and
good.
they both hate each other's contracts. So we are well on our way. I think, unfortunately, to a long overfield. But maybe we'll dive into that next week. We'll get into a little bit of the nitty gritty contracts and stuff like that. We'll see. All right, enough is enough. Scooter, go ahead. Say your final goodbyes.
Yeah. Let's have a great week. It's going to be great finals. And, good luck to you guys.
Thank you, sir. And as I always say, just make sure you tell your loved ones that you love them and hug them, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. But hopefully you will be with us next Tuesday for Drive Time. Until then, everyone, we will see you later.